Tadas, Timothy, and Zaal. And hello, everybody at the event. I'm just going to give a little quick presentation to introduce us. We're at Eden Town Hall, which is an Eden Fractal community event on January 22nd. Eden Town Hall is a forum for fractal governance innovation. More details at edentownhall.com and edenfractal.com, the community that we're supporting that's dedicated to optimizing collective decision making through collaborative research, development, education, gamification, and community engagement. Like I said, learn more details at the website above if you're not, or that I said, and then you can see on the screen if you're not familiar. We're going to jump right into the topics, but I first do have an announcement. Actually, I just want to provide a bit of context because usually we play respect games at Eden Fractal events, but we're just doing a town hall so we can have a discussion. That's something we planned out at the last event. I think everybody here is familiar with it, so I'm just setting out the context in case anybody forgot or isn't familiar. And also, an announcement that I just shared today in the Eden Fractal Telegram group is that Optimism Fractal is pausing. It's entering an indefinite hiatus. Today was actually scheduled to be the first day for Optimism Fractal Season 7 to return, but we had discussions at past Eden Town Hall events, such as the one that you can see in the bottom of the screen right now, about pausing Optimism Fractal back about 2.5 months ago. And just yesterday, we finally approved the proposal to pause it with the Optimism Fractal's consensus process. So you can find more details in that proposal that is linked in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat. It's also in the Optimism Fractal Discord and all the different channels and stuff like that. And as I wrote, I'm just very grateful to everybody. I think everybody here who participated in Optimism Fractal basically got a lot of value from it, and I did. And so encourage you to read the proposal for more details, but really excited about consolidating focus on Eden Fractal and taking all the momentum that we have and putting all the pieces together to make huge strides towards our mission and our vision with Eden Fractal this year. So check out the post in the Eden Fractal Telegram group to learn more about Optimism Fractal pausing. And also, like I said, we're meeting for Eden Town Hall. So we've been playing the Synchronous Respect Trees game, and we decided from last week to just carry over the topics from that we were discussing last week. So we have a snapshot poll where we can discuss these topics that have been proposed. We can also have an open discussion about Optimism Fractal and other things as well as we go along if we want to change topics. But we do have these topics that have been already proposed and voted on as of last week by community members. The topic that received the most votes last week that we discussed in good detail, I think the video is up now too, is the proposal for the biweekly structure. And then the second topic with the most votes is ORDAO and OREC documentation. And then there's also a topic for updating ORDAO configuration with the third most votes, welcoming for Eden Fractal Season 12, Eden Fractal 2026 resolutions, documentation and forkability, and Eden Fractal RFP program. Again, these are all in the Eden Fractal Telegram group, and you can see more details about how we play this game, how we propose it, and then on here, as well as the Telegram group, you can see the different proposals in more detail. Like Timothy wrote this one about ORDAO documentation. I wrote an article about it where we can dive into perhaps if we have time. I think we probably will because we might do a 2-hour event today if we want to, and more details on all the other topics here. So the topic with the most votes is the past bi-weekly proposal structure. Tadas actually just shared another message about this in the Telegram group. I think that probably everybody here has seen it already, but just in case somebody hasn't seen it, then Tadas did just share a document with a new idea for he's calling SRT V1, like Synchronous Respect Trees 1. And he says how that's a much simpler idea that he's proposing to do for the coming week, I believe. So maybe it'd be useful if pass over to Das if that's good, and we can dive into this topic. I'm pulling up Tadas's post on Telegram now, where he shared these things and proposing that we start SRT V1 on starting tomorrow, I believe. And then he has some reflections and feedback here, as well as his actual proposal about how this game works. So yeah, maybe Tadas, do you want to go ahead and introduce this idea and provide any context I didn't provide there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so first of all, it's not really a new idea. It's just iteration of the Synchronous Respect Tree game that we played last season. It's an improvement. I think I simplified it, kept the best parts, and removed what what made it a bit burdensome to implement. So overall made it simpler and improved it in a way where it's not just topics that we can propose, it's also what I call contribution requests, which can be like any issues or problems or tasks or requests, basically anything that individuals or subgroups can do outside of meetings asynchronously. So uh, Yeah, so these are, I guess, main improvements. Uh, yeah, so the game will run for 1 week, not 2 weeks like previous one. And 2 stages in the game. Uh, yeah, in the first stage, you can propose. Both people can propose both topic proposals and contribution requests. So topic proposals are like in the previous game. Uh, it's something to discuss in a meeting. But I'm also thinking right now that it could. It's not just for the next meeting, Eden Town Hall, but also uh, since the game only runs for 1 week, we can also use the results for any extra meetings throughout the next week or just any extra discussions. Uh, yeah, so I think topic proposals can inform more than just one meeting, kind of like we are doing now. We played the game last week, um, and right now we didn't, of course, we weren't able, of course, to cover all the topics in the meeting last week. So right now we are going topic by topic uh, in this meeting on the off week where we don't play the spec game. And the second type of proposal is contribution request. Uh, so like I said, it could be a task, request for research, request for proposals, request for donations, uh, or even a question to answer. Uh, NCRs can connect interestingly with topic proposals where on the game of respect game, on the week of respect game, someone could create a contribution request, which requests proposals to solve for for how to solve a particular problem, let's say. And during the week without respect game, people uh, have opportunity to work on these proposals. Not necessarily that everyone has to work on it, but someone can work on it, and then uh, if people are able to prepare something, we can pre propose it as a topic proposal on the ne subsequent week where we can discuss it as a topic proposal. Uh, yeah, so the schedule would be stage one, where any respect holder with at least 55 respect can create proposals, and we can create both TPs and CRs, both topic proposals and contribution requests side by side. Uh, and it lasts for 3 days, and in the end, we will have a list of TPs and CRs. And then stage two starts, where uh, two polls are created. Now, this time, two polls, one for topic proposals and one for contribution requests. And we vote independently on each. Uh, and this lasts again for 3 days, and basically you get results of two polls, which inform topics to discuss in the meeting, as well as their contributions to focus on. Uh, yeah, so I kind of generalized this document right now so that even other organizations could use it. Well, I guess there are still some terms like respect holders, which we have to be familiar with. But yeah, that's why I added the recommended application section, uh, which kind of describes context where in which this game really works. I think should work well. Uh, so there has to be a meeting, and preferably you play a respect game. And I recommend, and I hope we do this. I hope we apply this, that we take at least 1 week break in between sessions of a meeting. So we play it for 1 week, and then we take a week off from playing it. And throughout we can use this off week to reflect on the game and prepare improvements for the game itself. Because it's a new game, it might be take some iteration. It also provides space for contribution for to work on contributions to answer contribution requests. Uh, it also provides space for to prepare the next uh, a set of topic proposals and contribution requests for the next game session. And I didn't mention here, but this also gives an opportunity to discuss stuff we weren't able to discuss in the meeting right after the game, like we are doing it now. Uh, yeah, so here I also have a section about changes from the previous version, but I think I covered it all. Yeah, so I propose we can start playing it on Friday, tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Tadas. Timothy, Zaal, at any point, if you want to jump in with any comments, of course, feel free to do so or raise your hand or share in the chat. Otherwise, I guess I'll just go ahead and share my thoughts now. So basically, well, I suppose just to add some context, so the topic that has the most votes that we're discussing right now, as a follow-up from last week, was this one to pass a proposal for biweekly structure. And then you're proposing that we play this new or this a refined SRT one game, which I think you explained here. And so this is not like a formal proposal to the to the Eden Fractal council, the Eden plus Fractal council. This is just a proposal that's saying, hey, let's try this out for next week, basically. This doesn't have to fall within like the scope or I suppose I don't know, jurisdiction, if that's the right word, of the Eden plus Fractal council, right?
Yes, and coming back to the original topic regarding biweekly structure, I give my new perspective in this message that previous message you just shown before. Yeah, here. So uh, in that initial proposal I did last week, I proposed changing bi-weekly meeting schedule, uh, and I'm kind of changed my mind a bit. I don't think we should rush doing that because really my motivation was to adapt to this to new version of a game I was developing, which at the time was even a different version than this version one I'm proposing now. And I think we should not adapt the whole schedule for this just for this game, at least until it's really mature and tested. So that's one thing. Another thing I think it's good to have stable scheduled, so which and stable rules about how we can change stuff using consensus process, uh, because that's something we can rely on. Uh, yeah, and in general, I think it's not good to change too many things at once. Uh, so I don't reject the notion that we should change schedule at some point. But right now, the way I see it, maybe we don't need to do it in next week.
Okay. That sounds good with me. I appreciate the clarification. And I think it sounds like a good game. I'm excited for SRT V1 and I'll have to try playing it on this schedule. I think it sounds good, and I agree with your points about letting the game mature and not trying to form the schedules too much. And so basically your proposal is both propose to start playing this game, try to play it the first time to starting tomorrow, and that would set the schedule of topics that were discussed for next week's Eden Town Hall, which will happen before the Eden Fractal Respect game next week, and also alongside the topic requests that people or topic proposals that people could make that we've been doing for the past 3 events or 4 events now. Um, we would also add a new component to that game where people can also make contribution requests, and presumably some of the things that people were previously making as topic requests or just other things like you've written in in your document. Um, there could be other kinds of contribution requests that people could make. And so we would experiment with that basically. And this upcoming week, starting tomorrow, people could make both topic proposals for next town hall as well as contribution proposals or contribution requests. And then that voting would, people would be able to propose those until Monday of next week at 16 UTC. And then between Monday and Thursday of next week, both at 16 UTC, then people would be able to actually vote on those things, and then we would use the topic, the votes in the topic proposals to determine the topics for Eden Town Hall, and then when we play the respect game, then when community members are sharing what they've done to contribute to Eden Fractal, or we're looking to vote on like rank the contributions of other community members, then they can use that as a signal or a guide about some things that Eden Fractal community members have said that they want to do. So basically, we'd set up that snapshot poll basically before Monday. Anybody could, between Friday and Monday, anybody could put a message in the Eden Fractal Telegram group that's prefixed with either TP XYZ or CR XYZ. And they would list their contribution request or their topic proposal. And then starting on Monday, people could vote for those. There'll be two different snapshot polls where people can vote on those different things. And then, like I said, it'd be used to inform the both the respect game and the town hall for Thursday. Is that correct?
Yes. Like, uh, except I would add that contribution contribution requests inform not just respect game, but also like as a contributor, if you don't know what you can contribute. If you're a new person or if you're an old participant, but you're not sure about what the priority should be, you can use contribution requests as a results of contribution requests poll as a guide.
Mhm.
And then I would say that during respect game, uh, the contribution requests poll from previous game might even be more useful uh, as a signal to use than a contribution request poll from this week, because people didn't have the time to really uh, take into account uh, results from this week in when it comes to contributions. Uh, but uh, but in a sense, you can use both signals.
hmm And in our specific case, there is no prior week because this is the first time we're doing contribution requests. But you mean that
Yes.
if we repeat this game, say, I guess not this week, but and you're saying don't do it every week, but if we repeat this game in 2 weeks from now, or 4 weeks and 6 weeks and 8 weeks and so forth, then at that point we could use not only the current week's contribution request, but also the prior contribution request, or I suppose Synchronous Respect Tree, about contribution requests, and also further back too. Like if there was a contribution request made this week, and then it's something that's not yet done, in 2 months from now, somebody could say, "Hey, I did this thing that the community said that need to be done in 2 months," and that could also be taken into account. That's something that new community members who are looking for something to do can potentially do that and say, oh, nobody's done that contribution request yet from January, it's March, and I'm going to do that. And that's also something that people could rank contributions for, going forward until that's done and sufficiently complete then. Is that correct?
Yes. So basically, you can take into account all the previous instances of a game. Uh, of course, the more recent ones are more relevant, but yeah, you can in respect game you can use the results from all the instances of a game.
hmm Okay. Well, that all sounds great. I'm excited to try it. I'm as we're speaking, I'm getting very inspired by this idea of contribution requests. It sounds right. And I'm also thinking about some of the stuff we were commenting about. Maybe it's worth getting into that a little bit. Um, or at some point I'd love to get into it, but I don't know if you saw Tadas this morning. I left some like probably like 14 questions or something like that on your document on HackMD on the other one. It's the SRT 1.1 draft one, and you were calling SRT or respect trees a protocol. It was helpful. I can bring it up. I don't know if it's directly related to the topic of the biweekly schedule, so we can get back into it. But you can see here there's 17 comments here that we can go through when the time is right. But I appreciate you sharing comments in all my comments, and there's some I still need to get back to on the other pages, but we had gone back and forth on the right side here, and I suggested breaking it into two different games like agendas and respect trees and stuff. And then you shared a lot of comments about how you see this as a protocol with a full map of schedule that focuses on what a tree is, basically a map of trees. For anybody, I guess if Swarthy and Zaal haven't seen this, Zaal will link this at some point in one of the other HackMD articles. And this one's like an earlier draft, SRT 1.1 draft, which is a little confusing. This is
Yeah,
1.1, but he went back to
yeah.
one.
I
But
I, I can explain this.
okay.
So first I drafted 1.1, which is basically what we just talked about, the previous document. Except that now I like refined it. Uh,
You took away point one.
yeah,
Didn't need
no,
that
but
point one. Too much.
no. Then I saw some areas of improvement. I really got inspired, and eventually I produced this 1.1. But then I started like really it started seeming too complicated, and yeah, and you know that I shared that art idea about divergence versus convergence.
Hmm.
So that's what basically happened here. I went on exploring many different ideas, and then eventually I converged on the version one that I just showed. And so yeah, so you don't need to really understand this 1.1 draft. For now, I'm not suggesting we use it. Yeah, although in this discussion that we in the comments we touched maybe on some other ideas that are worth exploring for the future.
Yeah, for sure. At some point, so the topic is about the biweekly topic. So I want to stay true to that, so we can also get to the other topics. But I'd like to also maybe kind of just ask maybe a quick question or two here about how you see. There's also, I suppose one good thing to check would just be if we want to do for the 2 hour call, then that's also something that might be helpful because normally town halls are scheduled for an hour, but we have the full 2 hours. So I feel like it's probably helpful to go for longer if everybody's up for it. I'm up to go for the 2 hours if you'd like, but I suppose we could just proceed as planned. But if we do want to get and make sure we get to like say for example the second topic with the most votes here, about the ORDAO documentation. I know Timothy's been wanting to share that. I know Timothy's also having to. He said in the chat he's having to focus on different things, but I suppose I'm not totally sure if we should go really deep into the biweekly structure thing. And I have, I think, maybe one other question about the biweekly structure specifically, and then I have uh, at, at least one question I could ask just about the respect trees in general that I'd appreciate hearing response from. Then we can maybe save the other 13 questions for like asynchronously, or we could dive deeper into some of those. But I suppose it depends how we want to structure our time. If we want to wrap up this topic for a bi-weekly structure, like as soon as possible, or in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is, so we can focus on the ORDAO documentation as the next topic. Or Tadas, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say here or anybody else. Does anybody have any preference on how we allocate the time in this meeting, or should I proceed with those two questions I have regarding the bi-weekly schedule?
From my side, um, if everyone is fine with a current biweekly schedule, if everyone is fine with not changing it, and there is no point in discussing it further. And if everyone is on board with uh, to play Synchronous Respect Trees version 1, I propose, then then we can move on unless, yeah, of course, if anyone has any questions.
Okay. I see Timothy said let's work at the schedule issue and that he can't make bi-weekly. Okay, he's saying wait, so I'm gonna wait on that. Um, okay, so I guess my question specifically related to the schedule is I'm about to try it. I think it's a great idea.
Mm.
But I wonder who's going to facilitate it. Do you want to facilitate the first one because you have the clearest idea of how this can work, or did you? I know in past I put out a message that kind of summarize it. If you want, you can copy and paste that format and just add something about the contribution requests and stuff as well, or you can write from draft. But yeah, that's my question basically. Do you want to basically facilitate that for this week?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would love to facilitate. Want to see how it works.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't hear any I see Swarley said he can't make weekly, but I don't see anybody saying that they don't like this schedule. So I think that Zal and Timothy are probably okay with that, and we'll look forward to seeing you whenever you can make it, Timothy. Appreciate you being here. And so that's what we'll do then for the next week. We'll try out the contribution requests alongside the topic proposals, and we will um, try it out. And then also, just to be clear, like Tadas's proposal in a way, Tadas's proposal is basically one, try this, and then two, you have another proposal to do nothing regarding the actual schedule. So other like we're going to try this, but we're going to keep the proposal the exact same, or this the structure the exact same. Basically, we're going to keep doing bi-weekly Eden Town Hall events at 16 UTC, followed by Eden Fractal events at 17 UTC, and then the next week. Currently, there'll be nothing in the schedule for the next week, but I suppose optionally we can propose or just decide to do a town hall the next week like we're doing now right now. Is that right? Or are you proposing that we start doing a town hall consistently every other week in place in that week where there's not both events?
Uh, I think this additional town hall event this week is very useful to prepare for the next meeting. So I think it will probably make sense the next in the next period as well. Uh, yeah, so I'm up for it.
Okay. Sounds good. I see Zal also write something related here. He said he likes the idea of not doing a town hall, but doing a co-building type event. And he said where we could meet up in the schedule to meet up, but not have a recorded session. So that's an option as well. Zal and Timothy and I have been doing something like that. We've been recording, but we haven't been sharing it anywhere. I do see value in recording most calls just because then you get transcripts and stuff that you can work with AI. But I agree that it doesn't necessarily need to be shared in like on the YouTube channel or something like that. A lot of times we've been doing those on Fridays, so we could also schedule a different event for that. I guess I'd be up for. I'm also up for sharing the Eden Town Halls as we currently do in the current cadence. And I like Tadas's idea of doing the town halls bi-weekly as well because I just feel like there's so much that needs to be discussed. And now that we're really orienting around Eden Fractal, and not focusing on Optimism Fractal, like and as evidenced by our past few events for Town Hall, we've had a lot of topics that have been proposed and we haven't yet gotten to them. Some of those can be done in private meetings, but I mean, also our mission here is to implement fractal decision-making process throughout society. And so I think that these town halls could be useful and instructive for others who are like trying to learn that education material, just have it like default public. Um, but and probably if I look at most of the topics, I think that most of those topics that have been proposed would probably be useful to have at Eden. I mean these are maybe it's just by default because these were proposed for Eden Town Hall specifically. But I think there's definitely room for private calls and co-building calls and stuff like that. And look forward to doing more of these. And we can keep our schedule that we're currently doing. And Tadas, if you want to join those, then you're very welcome. And then we can also uh, plan to do the Eden Town Halls on a biweekly, but also maybe just have some flexibility because, like for example, the way that we scheduled this is we just decided it last week. And so some weeks we might not want to schedule a town hall because we're just like, oh, we have enough. Maybe we do want to do more of a private thing, more of we just want to co-build something. So I think maybe just keep the official formal schedule that's like in advance decided as this bi-weekly, every other week, there's an Eden Fractal and Eden Town Hall event, or rather Eden Town Hall, then Eden Fractal event. And then on the other weeks, probably usually maybe every time we'll have an Eden Town Hall during this time slot that we're in now, but not necessarily. We could always opt out of it, I guess, if we want to, or opt in or opt out. Like we could just decide it. At some point, we'll probably solidify it more. But I think maybe that's the best approach for now, so that we can have flexibility to determine on a week by week basis. I mean, the other thing is that it is nice just to have something to schedule because then we can say, oh, weekly events or like, hey,
Yeah,
you
no,
can
I
join
think
then or something. So maybe it is
I,
better
I
to have it.
really Yeah, I really like that kind of mode of thinking. What I'm kind of proposing or ideating is on those off weeks, if there isn't a town hall scheduled, keeping into that weekly schedule, but having us all join and share screens. I've seen some, like whether or not we're actually having a conversation or actually working on our own contribution requests for Eden Fractal. I think the town hall is great and it's always great to discuss different things, but there's sometimes different challenges with when there's always just discussion and not a lot of action. I think we've benefited a lot from the discussion pieces in the fractal communities, but the actual contributions from different members sometimes are pulled back because of people jumping in meetings or having a conversation. So I think it could be good to have a meeting where it's a scheduled time where we're working on fractal stuff together in a call, in a shared screen where like all four people that are kind of chit chatting or just working silently with a shared screen so people can see other people's workflows. And just I've seen success in other communities of asynchronously when people are working on fractal contributions, having a shared screen so someone that's just interested in this conversation can see what someone's doing and be able to synthesize more information from a workflow than just high level conversations that happen sometimes that really confuse people. I think sometimes it's really good to have like even if there was a way like when you are doing a transcript for a video or something like that and you send a message to the Eden Fractal, for the next half an hour, I'm doing this. Anyone can join in and watch how I do this workflow and kind of see it. I think that will give an opportunity for people who are hesitant to join in these big picture conversations where sometimes they don't really know what's going on, or it can get kind of confusing. And then also having that like action over just conversation kind of part of the topic.
Thanks, Saul. Good points. Yeah, I've never done that kind of co-build kind of workflow, but I can imagine that being useful. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, people building traditionally in office buildings or building together, and you can have some of that benefit there and see what people are doing. And um, so that's something, and I think you were mentioning how that's better to have that more private because then you don't want people just sharing their screens and stuff like that, like on a public event with where they might share something accidentally and stuff like that that they don't want to be shared. And also, it might not be as engaging, like for people to potentially listen to later and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I think there's value in that, and I think that's also kind of aligned with what Tadas is trying to achieve for with the contribution request as well where there's specific, not just like the topic where we discuss things, but also the contribution requests where we're actually focusing our efforts to contribute to specific goals and tasks and so forth and voting on what we want. So I see a lot of alignment there. And yeah, so I think maybe we can try that with the calls that we're currently doing on Friday would be best. Or we could also we can maybe do it on the Thursday town hall slot or just a different time as well. But yeah, so I'll have to try that. I think that's an interesting idea and worth some experimentation. And generally, before I pass it to Das, I think I'll say that the thought I was having just before Zaal starts speaking is that I think there is value in just having the schedule determined. And my preference, I think, would be to keep Eden Town Hall probably opt out because Das also brought up a good point with me. Maybe a couple months ago, he was saying how like having the Eden Town Hall provide the natural space where basically discussions can come to one place and it makes it easier because like sometimes I get overwhelmed because I need to schedule this meeting or schedule that meeting and I need to respond to people who are reaching out to me about this and asking about this and if I have a way to say hey like you can come to the weekly Eden Town Hall meeting and that's where we can discuss it then that kind of offloads that work of trying to coordinate all these different schedules and like text message responses in other chats and I feel like that's also probably true for others as well so I think my preference would probably be keep Eden Town Hall weekly, and then have this time for Eden Town Hall. We can always opt out if we don't want to do it, but by default it'll be weekly, and that way we could say it's a weekly event, and that way we can kind of use that to channel like attention and focus and energy, and in cases where it's not worth or we don't want to go through the extra effort of like scheduling it another call or figuring out where to do it or scheduling a whole town hall or writing some long text message in some other chat, we could just say, hey, the town hall is coming up. Like for example, also Mikal from Fractal Circles, he wants to promote or not, I guess promote, but also demonstrate and test the Fractal Circles app that he's building. And I need to get back to him to say where he can do it. And if I don't have clarity about like when is the town hall, then it makes it more difficult to do that. Whereas if we have a weekly town hall, I can say, oh, we have a weekly town hall, and every other week, like on some weeks we have open discussion, and some weeks we have topics that are chosen or whatever it is, like something like that. That'd be easier to kind of have that space. So that'd be my preference, I think, to have this town hall still on the agenda. We call it a weekly event, and then we can always opt out if we want. And then at some point, I know I've been speaking for a while now, so thank you for your patience. But at some point, one of the comments I made that is a nice feature of Kagendas that might be worth bringing back or introducing to Eden Town Hall at some point, or the Respect Trees game, or whatever we wind up calling it, is this idea of scheduling town halls, scheduling via respect votes. So we could have it where a town hall is only scheduled if it gets, 1,000 respect votes or 500 or 2,000 or whatever as well. And that could be a way where it's not like maybe that's worth doing now, or maybe it's worth just putting on the schedule and opting out informally, but maybe it is worth implementing that sooner rather than later too. So I think that's worth exploring. Tadas, thanks for the emojis, guys. Tadas, do you want to share something here? Also
Yes.
Zaal, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I think all of your ideas is great, and overall, my summary would be to have more flexibility in the off weeks. Uh, so in the sense that we see what we need at the time in the season and in our work. Maybe sometimes we are more focused on specific contributions, and we only either work individually or do the co-building sessions that Zaal is proposing. At other times, maybe we really need to pass some proposal, and so we really need to come together and in some sort of Eden town hall. At other times, maybe some delegate cannot attend the town hall at the time. So maybe it makes more sense to schedule additional meeting, at least between delegates, at some other time. That's also an option. So it's also I think, a good idea to have some kind of system to schedule meetings for people who are interested in a topic. So in general, I think just have more flexibility on these off weeks to do what we need at the time, and have all the respect game weeks more structured, like we have now, and keep all the rigid structure there.
I agree. I'm curious, Ross, what you think about this specifically. So Zal had written that he agrees we should do opt out, and he said other than that we should be connecting at this time weekly. But during opt out session we could have a session for the people that would be free during that time anyway. So I'm curious specifically to us where when you're saying that we should keep the meeting less like the I suppose off week from Eden Fractal Reset games, when we're keeping that more flexible, then how do you imagine that happening in practice, or what do you think is best in practice? Do you imagine that we just have it on the calendar for an Eden Town Hall every week at 16 UTC, or and then we just opt out like casually, informally during the prior week's event or during the chat sometime, if we want to be more flexible and do something different, or do you imagine something different, like it's opt in rather than opt out, or that we use some sort of token like respect voting mechanism to schedule it? Those are kind of like three options that I see about how we have the flexibility. Either it's opt in and it's off by default, or it's opt out but it's on by default, or it's voted by respect token. Those are kind of the three configurations, and I can see all three of those working with your idea of keeping it flexible. But I'm curious what specific implementation of that you think is best, or do you have a preference, or do you agree with the framing or see it differently?
I don't have a strong opinion here. I just can say that for me personally, having this meetings on the off weeks regularly with town halls, for me this would work. But if, for example, Swarty says that he cannot make it on those weeks, as I understand it, and if he is a delegate and we need to align on or something, I'm open to scheduling a different call, a different time. So yeah, that's my perspective. I guess I would be okay with opt out for the town halls, but I'm open to other ideas.
Okay, thanks for the clarity. So yeah, that's also another idea too that might work well because Timothy is doing a lot of great stuff in the Fractal ecosystem, and he's has several time conflicts at this time. He previously mentioned this a potential idea to do different time meetings in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat. That was maybe a month ago or something like that. Also, Timothy had written this other article that might be worth it's probably worth at least mentioning and maybe getting into at some point, given that we're talking this bi-week schedule. But he shared this article about the Synchronous Respect Tree live game, which is a new kind of synchronous respect tree game. There's some comments there and stuff like that. Timothy, if you want to share more details with this at some point, then feel free to unmute. And this is another idea for something we could do during off weeks or something like that, so to speak, from Eden Vector Respect games, or even on the Eden Town Hall of that week. But yeah, being that Timothy is playing a leading role in the community, and other community members have also mentioned difficulty in timing as well. That's another option too, that we could have it where we change the timing of the town hall. I mean, to some extent, it just makes it simple. If we have the Eden Town Hall every week at 16 UTC. Like I like that in terms of it just makes it very, very simple to be able to explain it to people and stuff like that. So that's great. And we've already tried rescheduling Eden Fractal and Eden Town Hall. Like we've talked about that a lot and it's never really worked because of a variety of reasons. I remember like we talked about that with Civil Monkey a few months ago and we decided it wasn't the best idea. So I don't think that it's right to try changing the idea of the bi-weekly events. I agree with what you said, like keep what we have on Thursdays at 16 and 17 UTC. Um, and I think probably the best and simplest solution is just go with the opt-out because it seems like we have pretty good consensus on that between me, you, and Zaal Tadas. And then if Timothy can only make it half the weeks, then we can still make that work. And Timothy can watch the videos, we can catch up, and then we can also meet at other times too. And maybe that's like the best and simplest approach for the time being. Just have it where we have an opt-out, Optimism Town Hall, and I guess the mechanism of opt-out would just be either like it'd be pretty informal, I guess. Yeah, like that's also another thing that's worth defining, I guess. What is the mechanism of opt-out? Is it just the prior week's meeting or somewhere in Telegram chat that we opt out? How much would we actually opt out in practice? But maybe we'll get to that in a second, or like maybe 30 seconds. But just to close out that idea, like I think maybe it seems like the simplest approach right now is to have opt-out town hall on the week that the respect game doesn't occur, but it's in the schedule as a weekly event at Thursday at 16 UTC for everybody who can attend. Videos we publish for anybody who can attend. And I'll work on publishing those videos faster so people can stay on topic and in loop. So we should publish every week. And then um, if we want to change the time for anything that, like, for example, we need to have a delegate discussion and, we really need Timothy to be there to voice his opinion or something like that, then we can always reschedule the town hall for that week to, Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And that could be the immediate plan going forward. So that's my suggestion and my proposal based on what we've currently discussed. And then the next step would just be if we agree to that, then what is the specific like procedure for opting out? Like, or what's the mechanism? And should we, and is it worth exploring this kind of respect voting thing now at this point, or should we wait until like a few months from now to get like some respect voting threshold for opting in or opting out?
I think there is enough respect voting in the on the on weeks right now. It will be so maybe it's something that we could experiment with later. I don't know. Let's keep it simple. Maybe it's just if someone cannot make it, who typically attends, then let us know in the chats, and we will see if there is anyone that is planning to be there, and if there's no one, then it's not worth it. Maybe then we cancel it.
Okay, sounds good. And so I think we'll just plan to do it every Thursday at 16 UTC then. And then if we decide not to do it, if for whatever reason we want to opt out, I expect that we probably won't really opt out that much just based on the current amount of things to discuss. So if we do want to opt out, then we'll just discuss that at the prior meeting basically, or at some point in the Telegram chat before then. And we'll just form whatever consensus that we can there with whatever kind of informal consensus techniques. Um, I see there's also messages that Swarthy's sharing in the chat about shifting the meeting an hour on off weeks and forward. Yeah, I'd appreciate clarification on that, Timothy. Yeah, if you can provide more specificity about your scheduling, then that would be useful to know. And I agree about the respect voting. I think the respect voting for scheduling topics is probably a good part of like more so the end game. And I don't think it's that difficult to do. Like it was pretty easy to implement with Optimism Town Hall. We just implemented that 2,000 minimum respect vote to approve a town hall. And also another thought that I have too to DOS that's kind of going maybe something that I disagree with you on is over here in this section, and this goes back to the points that I brought up in the SRT draft, but I still don't fully understand why we're like I see you're trying to make a protocol here for respect trees or SRT, and I have questions here that are related to this. But to me, it still seems like we could just decouple this because I do think that there are some times that we will want to use the SRT topic game, or what I think is very similar to what we've traditionally called agendas in the past, to choose topics for the week, like the next week. I think that's something like I think maybe ideally the system would be like we decouple these games in a sense. They could still be part of the broader Respect Trees protocol, which I'm curious to learn about, but we have it where people can play a Respect Trees topics game, which I'm going to call agendas now, which I think that's a better name to call it in the long term, for the actual like game name. And people can play agendas any week that they want. And so if we wanted to play agendas for every Eden Town Hall, then we could. And I think there's some reasons why the community members might want to do that, and that flexibility is useful. And then we have a system where if there's enough votes, then the Eden Town Hall schedule. I think that's probably just the best. Like that's not that difficult to design. I don't know if it's the best to do right now, but like maybe next month or maybe now. Like if we just make it so that we just put like a simple rules for agendas and we say like agendas can be played every week. A town hall will be scheduled if any topic receives at least 500 votes. And if not, then a town hall won't be scheduled or something like that. And like that might just be it. And that might just provide that might just be the right thing to do now because that might provide all the clarity we need. So there's a specific system to opt in, opt out, and it's very simple. So that's kind of my like I don't know exactly how that would work exactly right now, but I'm pretty sure I do. And I think that's probably the best solution because I don't think I agree with that assessment that like we always want to take a week off to assess it. Like that's something that I don't know, you wrote somewhere, and I agree that sometimes that's helpful, but I think that sometimes people will want to just choose topics like based on what they vote for, and that also handles what can be when we schedule a Eden Town Hall as well. So I see you've had your hand up for a while there. I appreciate your patience, and I'm curious what you think about that as well as other things that were on your mind, and I also want to get back to what Swarthy was saying at some point.
So if you vote for whether to have a town hall or not, I think you should also vote for the time when you want to have it. Like Swarthy, for example, saying that he could do it an hour later or earlier. For me, it's okay. We can think of type of games to play to schedule meetings, but for me, it's just right now it's too much to experiment with Synchronous Respect Tree new version and to play those games as well. So I'm not rejecting your idea to use polls for scheduling town halls, but for me it's not straightforward to do it well, and for me it would be too much, and I frankly would not want to play it on both week on something on both weeks because it's at least for now.
Hmm. Yeah, I also agree. It is definitely if we have something where you can propose a time. So that's never been tested. But how we did it previously was just that Optimism Town. Well, actually, no, the Optimism Town Hall could be scheduled different times using that too. But then, yeah, it does, I suppose, bring up a question if there needed to be a separate proposal for scheduling the time and then a proposal for what topics are proposed. Whereas the way that we did with Optimism Town Hall was just that. Um, we had a consistent time and we just said that if any topic receives X amount of votes, then it will be scheduled at that specific time. But that's another question. I suppose you could have a two-stage system in that way then, which would be like something like you have first stage to propose a time for a town hall, and then if any of those receives enough votes, then let's say 500 votes or something like that, then that would be a scheduled town hall time. And um, then there'd need to be another stage, which is topic selection or topic proposal, and then another stage. So that'd be like a three-stage game in a way. So I agree that might be more complex than needed. I think that this could be useful to implement at some point, but I think it's too much to implement at the current time. It could also be overwhelming, and I don't think it's really needed at the current moment to have it every week. But I do think that as we go on, it's nice to have that flexibility and not have to, because I don't know exactly what we'll discuss in these second weeks in the Eden Town halls. Um,
So I'm 100% sure that what we have now, where we're only able to discuss one topic out of seven last week, and we have all of this right list of topics still to discuss this week. I think that will be the case every week. So that's one of the reasons I don't see the point in playing it every week.
yep, I agree. Okay, so I think we should save my ideas about voting with respect for it and doing it every week uh, for later. I think they're going to come back to it another time, and then for now, we'll agree to have it opt out at 16 UTC, and we can also plan to like kind of just have some sort of informal, talking system where we'll reschedule it to a different time if that works better for people. Is that a good idea? Or I still didn't read like I know Swarthy Hatter just said that an hour later would be preferred, but an hour earlier would also work. So instead of doing 16 UTC, you'd rather 17 UTC or 15 UTC. Swarthy. So I suppose that's something maybe it's better to figure out in the chat as well. But that's something that I mean, if we do these town halls for 2 hours and that's during 17 ETC, so that might work. And we also could potentially change the time around as well. But it might be useful to do that in chat so we can have more specificity around Swarthy's schedule and how we can best accommodate that. Personally, for me, any of these times work well.
Yes, for me, 15 UTC would maybe even be better. Uh, but I'm not sure if we should like focus anymore in this meeting on the schedule.
Yeah, we're going pretty into depth. Um,
Yes.
Yeah, last thing I'll share on that is that 15 UTC might be too early for people in California. And also the upcoming in 2 or 3 months is going to be the daylight savings time, which is going to go back and I think make that later. So those are just things that we want to consider next time that we I suppose bring this back. But I think we have consensus now to maybe just follow up in the chat about any further improvements. And for now, we'll just say we're going to have a weekly town hall at 16 UTC. And then we can make up our mind along the way as we go. And I can also invite Mikhail to come speak at these events, but I'll direct him to the proposal system for things like that we want to invite people to the event to be able to make a proposal for the say the next town hall during the upcoming SRT V1 game. And then we can just assume that probably there'll be topics left over from the prior weeks that we can discuss in the next town hall, which will be more open structure, but still have the schedule that was determined from the prior week. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, curious if there's any other thoughts, but otherwise, uh, maybe it deserves a little bit of a celebration because we took 2 hours and we finally got through I mean, between this week and the last week's event for Town Hall, we finally made a decision about the 2 hour
To do
schedule.
nothing.
Yeah, do nothing. Yeah.
It took 2 hours.
Okay. So. Shall we move on? Oh, and the last things that are related to this, that Tadas, maybe just let me know, so I have more clarity about the best way to proceed here. But all my questions here, I did have questions about like how you see this protocol, because you see clearly you see some sort of protocol existing underneath or behind and underlying the contributions and topics, and then there's also other parts of the protocol like ranking fractals and stuff like this. So I see Zal's writing speed up, so I'll speed up. But this is just one last thing I wanted to share, just because we're on this topic
Yeah.
related to respect trees. Do you want to just respond to all these comments in the HackMD article, or and there's a lot of questions. I didn't want to overwhelm you, but those just
Yes,
okay,
I will respond in the comments. And by the way, it's not some, it's just a set of ideas where for how for a protocol, it's not anything, no plans, and it's really disconnected right now from the version one that I proposed. I don't know how it's going to go forward, if it's
okay.
going to develop. Yeah.
Okay, so, sounds good. I think you're right. At some point, we do need to preserve unique and specific, meaningful identifiers for specific protocols for the sake of designing and implementing this. That might kind of go. I don't know if that conflicts with what you just said. You seem like much more chill about it now than when you said that.
No,
But
that
okay,
I'm talking. You were talking about the protocol, but this is just a principle to keep the names unique.
okay,
Uh, I'm not. Not, okay, not everything I said here. I don't disregard everything I said here. But I mean, anyway, let's discuss in a comment.
okay. Sounds good. I look forward to it. All right, so we touched upon all these different things for the bi-weekly schedule. We touched briefly upon also Timothy's article about Synchronous Respect Tree Live, but there's also comments here in the Telegram chat, and I think that I raised this up already, but I think Timothy was focusing on other stuff, and I don't think we need to focus on this right now. And we could probably move on to the next topic about the ORDAO. But I think also for this, thanks Timothy again for sharing this, and then this can also be something that we discuss in the Telegram chat, and there's also some unanswered questions too that we can get into probably during the next during the upcoming weeks and during the asynchronous discussions. And this can potentially be related to this biweekly schedule, but we'll come back to it later, I think. And with that, I think that we have consensus on what we're going to do next week and for the future weeks going forward. And then I'm going to go back to the topic proposal list, or rather the topic proposal snapshot list. We are past an hour. We're at an hour and 5 minutes. So, oh, Swarthy said, ciao. Okay, sounds good. See you soon, Swarthy. Thanks for being here with us, and I hope that the talking goes well. And yeah, so I don't know. Swarthy was the person who proposed the ORDAO and OREC documentation, so the timing doesn't work out perfectly for that. So we could skip to the next topic about update ORDAO configuration. I know Zaal is also interested in ORDAO and OREC documentation as well, but it might be best to save that for when Swarthy's here too, so we can have one discussion with all of us. And the next topic after that was updating our ORDAO configuration, which I think is a pretty simple proposal. I don't know if we want to save that for when we have the actual I keep saying optimism. I'm really grateful for stopping Optimism Fractal now because now I can just focus on one thing and say the word Eden rather than optimism. But yeah, should we? I don't know if we want to wait until the next week to bring that one up until when we have an actual council that can approve that because that does need the Eden plus Fractal Council to discuss that. Zal said he'd like to talk about the
Depends.
documentation, and then Swarthy, this is to go till 11. I'm not sure what you mean. This is meant to go for another 45 minutes. Yeah, this is scheduled for 45 minutes. So we can wrap it up sooner, but it is scheduled for another 45 minutes or 53 minutes, actually. Sorry, Tadas, were you saying something?
Yeah, I mean, we need the council to pass this ORDAO configuration proposal, but we can talk about it although it's to prepare passing it. But uh,
Well, Swarthy just said that he's here. He thought that he was getting called up to do some sort of speech, I think, but he's actually not. So maybe it makes sense then to go with the originally voted second most voted topic, and that's also what Zal said he wanted to do now. And we can get into the ORDAO and OREC documentation. I guess just for context, if anybody who's in the council hasn't checked this out yet, for this ORDAO configuration update, it's related to documentation. So if anybody's not familiar with how ORDAO works, this is important to know. But I think it's a pretty simple and straightforward. proposal to approve, so we could get into that. But maybe we should save that for after. While Swarthy's still here, maybe Swarthy, if you want to introduce your topic, if you're able to speak, then we can go into the topic for ORDAO and OREC documentation as critical infrastructure. He defines the problem and the solution and so forth. I'm getting lost here. Um, I clicked on like literally everything here. Okay, so yeah, you provide the problems in that ORDAO and OREC are core governance infrastructure, but their current documentation does not enable independent documentation, deployment, understanding of working by the DAO. Critical architectural and design context remains centralized, which undermines autonomy and creates coordination friction. He has stuff about why this matters and proposed outcome and scope, and then there's this whole article with more details. Tadas, would you like to share something here as the creator of ORDAO?
Yeah, so for me, this is something that I would see as a contribution request. So for me, the need for clearer documentation is clear. It's totally clear, and I want to work on it. And I kind of started going into that direction this week. I started working on refactoring deployment scripts, which I want to do before documenting how to use them. Uh, so yeah, it definitely needs work. I agree, and I think I should do the work, which will be easiest for me. Uh, it's just the question of how much time should I spend there, because there are competing uh, needs. Like the main one is Fractalgram that I mentioned in the chat. So yeah, for me, if you want to talk about it, for me, I think we should. It's not a question of whether we need that, but question of priorities. What I and others should focus on with regards to contributions.
Okay, I agree. I see Swarthy put up a heart and said, I'm fine with being a next priority. So yeah, I think I appreciated Ash. You've been focusing on helping us plan out how we'll coordinate our schedules, and also I think that this respect trees game that you were planning and stuff like that, respect synchronous respect trees, that provides a framework that we can use to prioritize these things. I think that was the original idea of respect trees to prioritize different tasks and stuff. And now that we have this contribution request system, then that can allow us to help guide Tadas as well as other community members about what are the biggest priorities, and we can express that in our votes. So, for example, Swarthy could put up ORDAO OREC documentation gaps, or like maybe a more specific request, like improve ORDAO OREC documentation as a contribution request in the upcoming event, and then we can vote on that compared to other contribution requests, and then that can help us determine how big a priority is and how much time the DAO should allocate to it, or other community members should allocate to it. Process next priority after Fractalgram. Yeah, Fractalgram is also a big priority now too, because currently we're back where we started 3.5 years ago, where we don't have an app for reaching consensus. So after trying several apps, we don't have any of them. So that's also a big priority. And like Tadashi, you wrote, I think in the chat this week or something, like I think that you wrote that we could get it done pretty quickly. Maybe you said within weeks.
Yeah.
And also there's a Spec-Driven development kit, which I looked into. I think is very interesting. That might help with that kind of thing. And yeah, with AI tools, it makes it a lot simpler to build. So, yeah, do you want to talk about that at all, or should we? I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts on this or DAO or documentation topic for now, or if we should move on to the next one at some point.
Yeah, so Swarthy, he says he's fine with it being next priority after Fractalgram.
He said if you make the base app simple, I assume he means like not base the network, but base like base ORDAO app, I guess. Simple. Zaal and Swarthy can vibe code on it with you, like and to DOS, and we can go about dev in a highly modular fashion. Zaal seems to support these with hearts and party emojis.
Okay, if it's about Fractalgram, I want to do to specify requirements that I see Eden Fractal would need and that other fractals would need for Fractalgram. So that's where I would start. And maybe I will use Speckit for that. And from that, we can see who can implement.
Yes, whether you wrote that clear conventions and constraints would be welcome. I don't know what Speckit is. I'm not familiar with that tool or framework.
Spec-Kit, the
A
GitHub
spec
Spec-Kit.
kit. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious, Zaal and Swarthy, if you guys are familiar with GitHub Speckit. That's something that I think would provide the clear conventions and constraints that um, that Swarthy is saying that he's interested in checking out. Maybe I'd like to find a link to this. Maybe I can just introduce it here briefly. But basically, I don't know, Josh, if you want to introduce this, I did a lot of research into this over the past week, and I'm excited about it. Um,
Yes. I will share some links in the chat first,
okay,
because there is one really good paper about.
okay. Yeah, I'm also going to bring up some things. I have a whole folder here of things to bring up. Okay. Tadas wrote that he thinks this is very relevant for DAOs. I'm going to pull up this GitHub spec kit. And then also, especially this doc you wrote to DOS. So this is the main, oops. This is the main spec kit repository. It has 64,000 stars and it's just released like I think 5 or 6 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. It's created by GitHub officially, and it's an open source toolkit that allows you to focus on product scenarios and predictable outcomes instead of vibe coding every piece from scratch. It explains that spec-driven development flips the script on traditional software development. For decades, code has been king. Specifications were just scaffolding that we built and discarded once the real work of coding began. Spec-driven development changes this because specifications become executable, directly generating working implementations rather than just guiding them. So, yeah, my understanding is that this there's like a 4-step or a 5-step process in which you create a constitution and a specifications and a plan and tasks and implementation. This is guided through an AI setup, and then basically you work in Markdown files where you can speak in English and say, "Hey, this is exactly like this is the Constitution. The Constitution says here's generally what the app should have. Like these are the guiding principles." And then after that, then you make specifications. Here's the specific features and the user experience and the user stories that you want to have. And then from there, then you would maybe ask each other questions as well as have the LLM questions to ask you so that you can get a clear idea of exactly what you need to build and create a very articulate document that you can give to an LLM, which the LLM will then go ahead and take those specifications and work on a plan, and you also work on it with a plan, like create the plan together with it. That's before you jump in if I'm messing up at all. And then that plan gets turned into specific tasks. Like the specifications in the Constitution, they start very high level. They don't talk about specific coding languages or things like that. It's kind of like more so goals. And then it gets more and more specific. And so then by the tasks and the plan phase, then it's like specifically, okay, well, we should use React or Java or whatever the specific like language or tools are. And then it creates a series of Markdown files that you can work with an LLM to create all the way to the implementation step. So it can really speed up development, and it's really helpful for coordinating development around projects that aren't so that are more complex, that have a like a wide variety of different like desires and like things you want to achieve, multiple features, and have specific intentions for how you want to build it, as well as coordinating development amongst multiple developers as well. And I think it's also really good for Fractal communities because everybody, regardless of whether they're a developer with technical experience coding, they can get involved with, having a discussion and having a transcript be used to create the constitution and like the general principles that the app should have, like be open source and, all these different things and be modular and stuff. And then they can also define the speculations like, oh, there should be a button in this top left corner that allows you to sign in or sign out or whatever it is. And it should have an XYZ feature. And then from there, that can provide the all that clear constraints and clear documentation that other developers in the community can engage with, as well as the community can keep on refining over time. We could probably have these specification documents as part of like ongoing documents that we can improve whenever we want to make an upgrade, and then the LLMs can take care of a lot of the work as we work with them. So that's kind of like my high level overview from what I remember here. I didn't actually read this article that you said about specification driven development and the power inversion here. And I do have some other folders. I have a video that I watched on it. And some other things. I did a whole chat with Claude about this too, and how we could. I've created documents with Claude about this, so I could share some more of the stuff that I've learned. But maybe I'll stop there and see if it seems like Tadas or Zaal and Swarthy like this, so that's cool. This would be cool to collaborate on this. But yeah, Tadas, is there anything else you want to add here, or Swarthy or Zaal, do you have any questions?
Maybe just a couple of my thoughts. So basically, in this specification-driven development, the specification becomes the main artifact on which a person works on, instead of it being code like in the past. So it's like development can move to a higher level, and this is, I think, very cool for DAOs because you basically develop a specification is always in sync with the implementation because you work by developing the specification, and this is very cool for DAOs because you then have natural language specification that you can share and work on with people who are not developers. And so a DAO then understands how their tools work. So with regards, for example, or DAO, we wouldn't even be in this situation right now, with documentation being out of sync and old and not ready. And with regards to Fractal DAOs, like then these intent documents that we have for Optimism Fractal. So this is basically the highest level. You could see this as the highest level specification, and maybe like we are going closer to the point where AI could just do the rest of the work. So community passes the intent document, and then the LLM implements it. There are currently still a lot of intermediate steps that need to be taken by a developer, but it's still closer to it. So yeah, and then I think this is a way to proceed with Fractalgram because I could, for example, right now use this to create a requirement specification, and then it would be easy for someone else to take over and implement it using different tools depending on the plan and so on. But in general, I think it might speed up development as well while it's still having specification.
All right, sounds good. Swarthy's happy to learn the spec and this kit and get prepped to use it. Sounds great. I agree with everything you said to us there. I really appreciate you. I don't know where you found this, but I appreciate you finding it and bringing it to our attention. And I agree that I think this could be really valuable. I think this will be really valuable for the Eden Fractal community as well as other Fractal communities. It makes a lot of sense for all the reasons you said, and more that I could elaborate on too. I can also bring up some of the documentation I found about it. And also, Tadas, I don't know if you wanted to speak any more about this document. Do you just encourage people to read this document? I know you said especially this one is relevant for DAOs, or especially this doc. Did you want to share any more details about Spec-Kit or about how we can get started with it, or anything else you like about it, or anything else you want to share?
Well, this doc just presents general philosophy about how this changes stuff. Some of the things I just mentioned,
Okay.
except for relationship to DAOs, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, 2026 is it's time to get like Eden Fractal in order now. I'm really excited about Eden Fractal at this time. And with the AI tools now, we can build a lot of these really quickly. So I really appreciate you guys all being here with us, and I'm excited about how we can collaborate to um, to make this to build a lot of things that we've been missing out on, and a lot of things that we've been thinking about for years but haven't quite gotten, or some of it broke and so forth. And now we can actually make it reality. And these things with AI and these specifications documents will really help. Also, it's worth you mentioned the intent document that Optimism Fractal had that we were aiming to make for Eden Fractal 2. That's also related, I think, to what Timothy is doing with the open intents framework as well, to some extent.
Mm.
That's I think openintents.xyz, if I'm not mistaken. That's from the Ethereum Foundation, and it's meant to uh, provide all L2s on Ethereum a way to have interop that's permissionless, and it's basically yes, Worthy, you could speak on it better than me, but I was listening to a podcast and I see one of the things that Timothy's aiming to do with the Fractal Nouns initiative that he's building is this thing called Fractal, or rather Nouns World Bridge. And that's basically taking this intent framework and using it not just for having different transactions go across chain, but also for intents to go from DAO to DAO or community to community as well. So it's similar because those specifications, like those intents can all be framed in markdown documents, I think. And it can be like, hey, you should go ahead and like this community should do this or that community should do that. So I've thought a lot about that. That's been very inspiring for me. And I think that there's some relation there between the intents that Optimism Fractal had and the intents that these L2s are making and the way that we could potentially use this open source software, this open source framework to create intents for Eden Fractal. And that can be like maybe much more comprehensive than the intent document that we had for Optimism Fractal. There can be like a core intent document like that has the basics, but then it can go into other intents, which are kind of like the specifications. Like this is the intended application that we aim to use, and this is the intended application aim to use for ORDAO and Fractalgram, and how we intend for the meetings to operate and stuff like that. And we can kind of specify. It's also kind of similar to what you were doing to us in a GitHub repository for I think Fraps, where you're kind of summarizing a lot of the rules and stuff of different games, and as we're exploring the specifications for the SRT game and so forth too. So all these are kind of like intents or specifications in a way. Um, Maybe at this point, if anybody has any comments on that, then feel free to jump in. I would like to share a bit more about this GitHub spec kit, and then after that, we can move on to the next topic if we like. But there are some things I've been meaning to share, um, and I think that'd be good to just go ahead and do this real quick. So I'll go ahead and just share. Let's see, how can I do this? Oh, I don't know how to do that. Oh, yeah, here's how I can do it. I'm going to copy all links. No, it's not going to work so well. Maybe I'll stop screen share and then no, that won't work either. Oh, I think I can do this actually. Okay. Forgive me while I speak out loud and I try to figure out what I'm doing here. I just realized I can just take this and put this folder over here. This is a folder that I had. No, it's not working. I thought that would work. I have a folder in a different space, but it's not making it easy. All right, I'll just pull over one at a time because I'm being really slow here. So for one thing, thanks. That thing's all just clap for me. I'm not sure if that's meant to be. I don't think that deserves claps. Um, so I have chat.
Encouragement.
What encouragement. Thank you, Zaal. I appreciate it. I certainly needed it at that point. So I did this whole chat. Tadas and I had mentioned, I mentioned to Tadas about Cloud Code because I've been learning a lot about Cloud Code lately, and Tadas mentioned he's been using Windsurf. And so I went back and forth with Claude a few times and was just asking questions. And I was asking questions about what is SpecKit as well, because that was the first time I heard about it and how it relates to Cloud Code and Open Code and Windsurf and so forth to get a better understanding of this. And so, yeah, well, I'm very interested in Windsurf too, but I'm really interested in Cloud Code. And this document, I wound up at basically the end of this document creating 5 documents. One is like a fractal dev tools guide. I haven't shared this because I only had the chance to read it and some things aren't quite right, but it compares Cloud Code and Windsurf IDE, and Cloud Code can do a lot more that Windsurf can't do. Also, there's some crazy stuff like there's like CloudBot, for example, which is like people are really taking agent orchestration to like a new level in 2026. It's really wild. And this document, if you want, I can share it with you because this shows like some of the stuff about why people are talking about Cloud Code so much. If I go on X, all I see is Cloud Code. Every single post is Cloud Code now because I guess the algorithm just knows that's what I'm interested in. But it's also like there's just a lot of attention on it, and like I see a lot of people who I've been following for years who do tech stuff talk about it. Here's like a high level overview of some things that are difference between Windsurf IDE and Cloud Code. Like Cloud Code has all these possibilities for hooks and skills and custom commands and sub agents. and ways that you can basically operate, like have it be an agent orchestration as opposed to just development. I'm happy to share this document. It's also more kind of like modular and kind of more like aligned with files versus apps because it's kind of like you have it all just on your computer and it can be portable to different things like Open Code, which is an open source version of Cloud Code. So I'm kind of getting into details here, but I think that these are really useful and stuff, and I'm happy to share these, even though it's not like I could work on it, but maybe it's worth just sharing with you if you're interested in checking it out. But then, so that's this whole thing here, and Cloud Code and Windsurf both work with the Spec Kit, and they both work well. And then there's a lot more here. I just kind of want to show that I want to show you this, and I've been meaning to reach out with you about it and showing like there's some great quotes about people saying how they could be like 10 times better at developing with using these tools. So I feel like we can incorporate these things to make them work together. And I think SpecKit will work together well with Cloud Code. There's also this Ralph Wiggum thing, which is like people just put it on repeat and it just works constantly. The AI agent works constantly. And then I haven't had the chance to review a lot of this stuff, but I created like a SpecKit onboarding for Eden Fractal document that explains why it matters for Fractal communities. And it also explains more. So it's some of this stuff I haven't had ready, but maybe this might be useful. And if you'd like, I could share it so you guys can read it as well. It talks about how community members can participate in this to learn how to review specifications. Probably some of it is overly detailed and stuff, and we'd probably want to refine it to figure out what's useful. But I do have some of this stuff here. There's also a section about community intents, how specifications are like intents for software. They describe what we collectively want to build, subject to community review and approval. And there's like a getting started and frequently asked questions. So there's a bunch of stuff here. And then I also wrote a constitution template for fractal governance too. Like it just kind of drafted some first versions of how this could work. I don't know how useful this would be, but it's maybe something that might be useful, as well as a development workflow upgrade plan for how we can upgrade from where we're currently at to using different tools like all these AI-enabled tools and specification. And then I had another document for specification review process about how Eden Fractal communities can participate in software design through specification review. A lot of this can just happen naturally through our events too, so it doesn't necessarily need to be like people don't need to read all these documents, but it's just stuff that might be helpful because I just got curious with AI and I talked with it, and Claude gave me a bunch of these documents. And then the last thing I'll say too is that I got curious about how this can actually apply to other aspects, not just code development, but it seems like there's also potentially a good use case for like the nonprofit design because I thought how the nonprofit is kind of like similar to software design. Like it's kind of like we could be doing everything that we're doing with the nonprofit on chain, and I thought about doing that different times, but or not everything, but like the nonprofit serves some specific role, but also nonprofits and businesses they're basically encoding of programmatic rules and stuff like that. And so you can think about complex social institution design like a nonprofit from a similar kind of standpoint. And as like I've been meaning to plan to create this nonprofit for a long time, I just keep researching it. And I do think like I made another document that I think I shared that I started to put together over here, which is let me just see. I just copied it, I pasted it real quick here, but this is like a quick first draft of something like how the GitHub how there could be a constitution for the Eden Fractal Foundation. And I just kind of threw this. I just threw this like just put it together quickly. It needs work, obviously, but it talks about some of the guiding principles. I think we can have a constitution and specifications potentially that help us also create things like the nonprofit and stuff like that. So I think it can be useful in context outside of software development, even though that's what it's meant for. And I think software development is probably the best place to start first, but I do think that can be useful for broader creation of intents with regards to how the community operates. I've been speaking for a while. Thank you for the patience. Hopefully that was interesting, helpful for you. And if anybody wants to comment on that, then feel free. Or if we want, we can go on to the next topic, or also start to wrap it up whenever we have about 20 minutes left.
We could talk a bit about ORDAO configuration changes. It would be very good to pass this next in the town hall next week. Because yeah, we in the current ORDAO configuration for Eden Fractal is configured in a way where it takes in total maybe 16 days to pass an execute proposal. This was because we wanted to we deployed the interface to claim old respect, which is parent respect of this Eden Fractal deployment. And yeah, we wanted to leave space for people to claim the old respect before passing proposals. So that's why initial proposal passing periods are so long. But now it's not, I think it's not relevant anymore. So you can move to more normal settings. And also, I think it makes sense to set max live yes votes value to a bigger value. So this is a setting that determines how many active yes votes you can have from a single account. This is to limit spam attacks in case some respect holder becomes malicious. Uh, yeah, I think a slightly bigger value would be better because sometimes we make some delegate proposals in addition to respect breakout proposals. So yeah, we need a bit more. We need to be able to make a bit more yes votes. Uh, yeah, those are pretty simple the changes. Like these values, we would be setting would be pretty standard and tested with other or DAO deployments or in Optimism Fractal or DAO Fractal. So I don't think it's something controversial at all. But we would need Swarty's approval, Dan's at least, mine at least. There is also Ryan among the delegates, but he's not here. So I think we will depend on us three. So what do you think? First of all, will you approve this?
Yes, I would approve it.
Okay, Swarty, I'm not sure if you had time to familiarize yourself with it. If you could respond in the chat if you hear us.
And also, Swarthy or Zaal, if you have any questions about what Tadas just said
Yes.
that we can clarify, then that might be useful. Maybe in the meantime, while we're waiting for Swarthy and Zaal's response, the ORDAO article running the Optimystics site has explanations about ORDAO and all the videos and stuff like that. And then it links to this article on GitHub that Tadas wrote. This is like the main kind of maybe white paper, I guess you could say, for OREC at the center of ORDAO. And it has these, what is it, 4 different variables: voting period, proposal, weight threshold, veto period, respect contract, and max live votes. And so this is a proposal to change 2 of these variables. Is to change the voting period, which is currently set to, I think Stas is something like 2 weeks, but it's to change it to, or it's a full week, and it's to change it to 3 days. And it's also proposing to change the max live votes, which is currently something like 4, which is the limit for how many live proposals of a single account can vote yes on. So this one is meant to prevent spam so that people can't make like a bunch of proposals and just overwhelm the account. I think it's currently set to 4, but Tadas is saying that each person will be able to basically vote yes on 8 proposals per week. Or no, 8 live proposals, which I guess will generally be per week, but it could be overlapping in different weeks. And then the voting period, like the DAO said, like we had that longer because there was a claim period where Eden Fractal Epoch 1 participants could claim their respect. They'll still be able to claim their respect, but we just had it longer in case there's anything contentious that the Eden Fractal Epoch 1 respect holders would want to uh, vote no on, or like want to have their respect and want to be able to claim that respect in time to vote for a proposal. So now they've had 6 months or more to claim their respect. So at this point, um, it's better. Like rather than having to wait 2 weeks for a proposal to be approved, now we can have proposals to be approved for things like respect distribution that happen once a week rather than once every 2 weeks, and people will still be able to claim their respect from Epoch 1, but it does not necessarily have such a long wait period now. So Is that all correct, Tadas? Did I understand that correctly? I partially wanted to just make sure that I was remembering the proposal correctly and making sure that I understand how it all works.
Yeah, if I didn't miss anything important, yeah. Uh,
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's correct. I'm like 98% or 99.5% confident in my understanding of that.
yeah, I heard like 80 or 90% of what you said when I got distracted. But
Okay.
the part I did hear it was correct.
Okay. Yeah, the part about Tadas giving everybody all his respect, that was just never mind that part, okay? I'm just joking, of course. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it's correct. Also, just for context, too, at the top of this, it links to the eden.fraps.xyz app, which is where you can actually, interact with the app. And there's the app state section with the vote period and the veto period, as well as the max live votes. This would change this number, max live votes, from 4 to 8, and then I'm a bit confused with us. Does this change both? This changes both the vote period and the veto period, right? So both of
Yes.
these are set to, I think, 7 days right now, but these would be set to 3 days now. So there'd be 3 days. So every time somebody makes a proposal, there'd be 3 days to vote on it. And then 3 days where you can, or 3 days where you can vote yes or no on it. And then 3 days after that, if it has at least two-thirds of the yes votes, then it goes to the second stage, which is the veto period, in which there's 3 days to vote only no on it. So that's what that's changing for both those times, right?
Yes. Uh, yeah, and just wanted to say regarding the document you previously screen shared,
Hmm.
for Swarty and Zaal, this is like the main document, like which describes the core of ORDAO, the main mechanism. Uh, so yeah, if you haven't read this yet, this is what I think if you should read it. Uh, yeah, that's it.
Okay, go ahead and read it. You heard it. Okay, yeah, I agree. I've come back to this many times, and it really does a good job of explaining ORDAO and really OREC, which is the core to ORDAO, at
Yeah, and
very
this
specifically.
part, this document is the part of the documentation I have really put an effort in,
Hmm.
and it could be like maybe more clearly indexed in the main readme. We'll prove that, but yeah, it's you should read that, and if provide feedback, of course, if something can be clearer or improved.
Hmm. I agree. And yeah, speaking of specifications, we're talking about GitHub Speckit, and this specifically has a specification. And then I suppose you can say like some of this stuff is kind of like the constitution up there with the motivation and the OREC approach and stuff. Okay. Also, Zaal just requested that we share in Telegram. I think I see Tadas is doing that now. So that will be available in the Telegram chat too. To find the link, github.com/sim31/ORDAO. And then from there, you can also find, I think it's linked very prominently too. It's linked prominently in the optimistics.io/ORDAO article. Also, by the way, I didn't mention at the beginning of today's meeting, but we're going to be, so for one thing, uh, I rebranded the Optimistics event calendar to the Eden Creators event calendar. So that's now at luma.com/Eden Creators. And um, also, I'm probably going to be moving some of the articles over from Optimistics to Eden Creators or something like that. But currently, optimistics.io/ORDAO has that link right at the top. That's usually the way that I find it most easily, to get to Tas's repository where it's linked to OREC. And then that also has like the video about it and stuff like that too, where people can learn more about the app. And Tasha shared that in the general chat. Okay, so Swarthy, as your delegate, we'd still appreciate if you're, I don't know if you're with us right now, you had to hop out, but whether you're with us now or listening to us later, we'd appreciate if you could just understand that proposal and also let us know if you'll be able to make it. If you'll be able to make it next Thursday, the 29th, then we'd very much appreciate that. Or if you have something going on your schedule where you really can't make it, then I suppose, Toss, we don't have a specific rule in our consensus process to allow for people who aren't there to still vote on things, but like, um, does it make sense? Like, do you think it's compliant with our current consensus process, the Eden Fractal consensus process, or should we introduce some sort of rule where, say, if for whatever reason Swarthy just really can't make it next week, but he likes this proposal and he doesn't have a problem with it, then he could just say in the Telegram chat, like, "Hey, I fully agree with this. I read the document and I understand it and I agree," and then we can use that during the Eden Town Hall next week to say, "Hey, it's approved," or should we just wait to approve that? I don't think it's urgent to approve that, so I mean, it'd be useful, but it's okay. I think also if we wait until Swarthy or whatever other delegate can make it, maybe Ryan will be there, or we can elect Zaal or somebody else. Um, but yeah, I'm wondering, like, so one, it's not really urgent, but if possible, we'd like to approve this on Thursday the 29th, and then two, curious for Swarthy if he'll be able to make it and if he'll be able to, and if he wants to vote yes on it. And then three, if Swarthy or Ryan both can't make it, then should we accept some voting outside of the town hall? Or should we just say that it won't be voted to be approved? Because technically, I think the formal rules say that that the delegates need to be there, and there are some reasons for that. So, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so it should be approved during the town hall, the way the rules are currently.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but already have a precedent, and I think what we can do is you don't have to be in meeting. You don't even have to be in a Zoom meeting. You can signal during the meeting. You can signal in the Telegram chat. So, like we
Mm,
passed proposals
mm,
at the end of last season in the, using Telegram poll, and I think we already had a case where someone Zaal or someone else
mm.
voted without being in the meeting.
Okay, so. Yeah, I agree. So what you just copied and pasted, which I think is from the official rules or intent document of the Eden Post-Fractal Council, it says council is said to approve a proposal when at least two-thirds of its members vote to approve it during the hour after the breakout room session. So that means that if Timothy were not to be able to make it, but he voted an hour before or 2 hours after, then that vote wouldn't be counted. But if he can get onto Telegram or yep, I suppose Telegram, and vote say yes, then that would qualify for being uh during the town hall, but basically during the hour after the breakout room, right?
Yes, that's correct. But Swarty also said that he should be able to attend on the respect game weeks. So I hope he can make it. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Can certainly attend the respect game weeks. Sounds good. Thanks, Worthy. Did you hear what we were saying, by the way? I see that you're now chatting. We were asking before if you understood the proposal and if you were willing to approve it. That's the proposal for the updating the ORDAO configuration.
Uh,
Okay, so yeah, specific question. You said you missed the question, but understand the content. Oh yeah, and so you understood the question and approve. Okay, great. So yeah, please just you said that you can certainly attend on the respecting week, so we look forward to seeing you there. And let's try, I suppose, next Thursday on June 20 on January 29th. Then I would suggest that that somebody proposes this as I have Speckit open. Sorry, it might be confusing. That somebody proposes a top. This would be a topic proposal in the SRT game one. So somebody makes a topic proposal. Tosh, you could just copy and paste whatever you wrote here, maybe, or anybody can copy and paste whatever Tosh wrote, I suppose, and then submit that as a topic proposal for the Thursday, January 29th SRT game. And then I suggest that we vote on that as the first topic. Um, and that we just make a quick decision and we're just like right at the beginning of the event, first like 10 minutes or whatever. We're just like, do a quick recap. This is what it means. And we're all in agreement. So we're all going to say that we agree on this and then we can move on to the next topic. And then we'll have our ORDAO operating slick, like a brand new Cadillac or something like that.
yes, that's the plan. And I'm also thinking maybe I will create our DAO proposal that makes these changes maybe tomorrow, uh, because it will still take like 16 days or something or 14 days to pass it. So yeah, if we don't pass it, we could like always reject it. So, but in case we do pass it, we will be able to execute the change quicker because the proposal will be passed quicker.
Oh, I
So I think
see. Because you're saying that it will take 6 or 7 days for the actual first vote period to happen. So if you were to say make that proposal in the ORDAO app tomorrow, then there'd be a 7-day timer, and then we would meet again in 6 days after tomorrow. So we could all just vote yes on it, and then that vote yes period would only have a day left, and then we'd have to wait 1 day plus 7 days for the veto period to have it up and running with these new upgrades. It would basically run faster with these new configurations. Um, Instead of having to wait a full 14 days.
yes.
Okay. And so I still won't vote on it, yes, until probably next
Well, no,
Thursday.
I mean you can vote yes. It's just that from my perspective, what's important is that ORDAO executes the intent of Eden plus Fractal process. So what matters is the end result. So uh, we can't vote yes, and then if we can still reject it in case we are not able to pass it.
Yeah. Well, I won't stop you from
Well, it's up to you. You
yeah.
don't have to, of course.
Yeah, I think my perspective on that would be to wait. Yeah, if you want to vote yes, then I think you have enough respect just to have it where, you have enough respect to do it anyway. But I think my perspective would probably just be wait until next Thursday, wait until we have the proposal coming in from the Eden Fractal Council officially and being approved formally according to the consensus process before I vote yes. Because otherwise, I'm making a situation where I vote yes now, but then it doesn't get approved, and then I have to remember to cancel it. And if I don't, then as an ORDAO member, I guess, then I'm not voting according to the consensus process. So I think it's just cleaner for me just to vote on Thursday after it's officially approved. And by you proposing it tomorrow, then I can still do that.
Yes,
Uh,
that's responsible approach for me because I know I will remember either way to this. I will remember to change my vote if needed. For me, that's I think could still vote yes, but yeah.
okay, yeah, sounds good because you're gonna make the proposal anyway, and you have that nice little check mark that says vote on yes. So it also makes it easier for you. And I'm like pretty much 100% sure that we'll get it approved next week, as long as everybody can make it there. Okay, sounds good. Is there anything else we want to talk about regarding this ORDAO configuration? I think we're done with this topic now, right?
Yeah,
Okay. We have 9 minutes left. We could wrap it up early, but one thing that I just feel like maybe would be good to spend the last 9 minutes. So, for one thing, we didn't get to discuss the four topics at the bottom. Welcome to Eden Fractal Season 12, and we kind of did a little bit. All this is that was kind of a general topic. And Eden Fractal 2026 resolutions, again, that was kind of a general topic that I put out because I figured it might be helpful. But we're kind of doing this naturally and can always be reproposed for the next week if we want. Documentation and forkability and Eden Fractal RFP program. The documentation and forkability, these are both proposed by Timothy, and documentation and forkability is pretty similar to the other one, but it's more specific to um, as a specific principle. The summary that he wrote is formally recognize documentation and practical forkability as first-class priorities for Eden Fractal 2026, necessary for DAO autonomy, continuity, and experimentation. And he wrote some rationale and additional reasons there. For anybody who didn't read my topics of Eden Fractal Season 12 and 26 resolutions, then feel free to read those for more details. And Timothy's other topic for the RFP schedule is for creating a formal RFP process with respect bounties to incentivize contributions that improve transparency, documentation, historical continuity, and forkability. And again, he provides rationale and some proposed RFP areas like historical documentation, fractal project registry, governance and token analytics, fractal ORDAO launcher, etc. And maybe I'll just make a quick comment on this, even though this is the topic with the lowest votes. But I appreciate Timothy making these proposals. And then in my comments with Tadas in one of those chats, I think it was like on maybe his retrospective or something like that, in that HackMD article, I asked him how similar or like if the Respect Trees game that he's thinking of is similar to the request for proposals, and he said like something like it has some similarities, but it's not like proactively in advance asking for proposals and for people to do things and then be like held to some sort of like, almost like a contract that they got to do in the future. And um, then earning some respect for that because that's kind of like a lot more overhead administratively to figure that out, and that can be less easy to do to predict in the future. Whereas the contribution request in the Synchronous Respect Trees game aims to achieve a similar goal of allowing people to make requests for contributions, but having that be just more of a guidance that people can use during respect games to allocate respect using the respect game process. So I feel like that could use more discussion as well, maybe, but I thought the Tadas summary was pretty good there, and I think that that's a good way to achieve a lot of what the Eden Fractal Request for Proposals program could do. I think it's worth exploring this in the future as well, but just want to put that note out there because these topics have been on for a while, and I agree with the ideas about documentation of workability too. And I feel like our discussion today about the GitHub Speckit is valuable for that. And also, I suppose just one last question that I have before I just maybe open it up and see if anybody has any last comments is I feel like I went on kind of an excited tangent before about how this GitHub Spec Kit could potentially be used by for the other parts of the system, other parts of the Fractal community outside of just software development, like with the nonprofit. And I also went on this excited speech about different tools and stuff like that. But I feel like we didn't properly conclude the topic about what are the next steps for using GitHub Spec Kit and collaborating. There was some discussion, like I think that Tadas mentioned about focusing on Fractalgram. He said next priority, and then Swarthy said how him and Zaal can help vibe code it and develop it in a highly modular fashion. And Zaal and Timothy both said that they would check out the and are happy to like learn about the spec kit and stuff like that. And I think we have alignment around that being a good approach, but I don't know what the next steps are in particular. Also using the contribution request system with respect trees to determine what are the priorities. But say if we do determine that this is the top priority or something else like Fractalgram is the top priority or whatever, then do we want to at this time in the next 5 minutes share anything else about like next steps for actually doing this documentation or working together on SpecKit or vibe coding together or whatever else? Is there anything else you want to add to that topic to help give us more specificity and understanding what we'll do next?
I briefly chatted with Tadas in DMs over the last week about my Fractal Cord, I guess we'll call it, my Discord bot for Fractals. And
Good name.
I don't know if that is a part of the conversation for this, but that's something I want to work on personally over the next couple weeks. So yeah, just open to discussion. Doesn't even have to be a long discussion about it, but just want to like bring that up and as something I would love to have a longer conversation about. Maybe I'll propose it as a future topic in the Synchronous Respect Trees game, and that might be the best way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's leave further coordination around that for upcoming period, and yeah, let's would appreciate Alex to propose a topic about it. And regarding Speckit, I think uh, like first maybe a good idea would be to like create something, prototype something with it, like create one app with it, for example, because I haven't tested yet the full development cycle with it. Like it looks nice in theory, but how it will work. So I think we're at the point where we should experiment with it before trying to create some formal processes or procedures for how we use it.
I agree. So, um, I agree with that, and also I agree with Zal's point too. But I think I agree Fractal Cord is a great name, and I think that maybe what would be useful to do is like I think as we discussed the GitHub Spec Kit, um, to me I think it just like just the right way to interact with AI on a bigger project like that. Like I've heard a lot about Claude Code. People say plan mode is like essential, like to really get a good output out of it. And I think that's probably true with Windsurf and stuff to plan out the AI first before it just goes and does it. And what I see is GitHub Speckit is kind of like just a more formalized version of that. And so I just think in principle and and in philosophy, it's a good way to do it. And I think it very naturally lends itself, as I said, to just conversation. And then, so what I suggest is that, and I agree with what you said to Das, like let's try it out with one app. So let's either have an upcoming town hall or have like an upcoming, I think it's always mentioned a co-build something. Like let's schedule something in, I don't know, the coming weeks at some point, where we probably just talk about this and we have a recorded conversation where we talk and we use Fractalgram or Fractal Cord or probably both. Or like because I think that it's helpful to have both a Telegram app and a Discord app because that's where a lot of people are. I suppose maybe choose one to focus on first, and then I guess if anyone wanted to go ahead and do that, maybe the idea of just talking together isn't the best idea, and maybe it's better to do it asynchronously if somebody wanted to just go ahead and do like their own idea of specifications, then we could use that as a base. But I think at some point soon, Fractalgram is definitely a high priority for Eden Fractal. It'd be good to just focus on trying using Spec-Kit with that, where either one person shares some documents that has like the constitution specifications and then invite others to leave comments on it. Or we just have a conversation. We just say, okay, well, what should be the constitution of Fractalgram be? Like, what are we trying to achieve? What at a principle level? And then we discuss that for 20 minutes or something. It's kind of similar to what Swarthy was suggesting a little bit as well. And actually, Swarthy, there's an app called Harmonica AI, Harmonica.chat that you might be interested in. But we could use something like that. It's like an AI thing that works within a Telegram or Discord chat that asks you questions. Either we do that on a call or individually or in a chat or something like that. But basically, we just like have a discussion about the Constitution and specifications and so forth, and then plan it out together or individual, and then we try using the GitHub Spec Kit to create the new version of Fractalgram. That's basically my proposal, and we do that sometime in the next few weeks.
Could you repeat the last two sentences?
Yeah. So my proposal is basically, um, I don't know, it's kind of like in a flow. So what did I just say? I said basically that sometime in the next few weeks, we either one person just goes ahead and takes the lead and creates the constitution and specifications um, for Fractalgram. And I suppose I think we should start with the Telegram app because that's where Eden Fractal needs the most right now, and then we'll work on the Fractal Cord after probably. So I propose that we start with the Fractalgram Telegram client, a Telegram mini app, and either one person, perhaps Tadas, or it could be anyone that's really tries to define a basic constitution and specifications. Because I think that's kind of like the two things that you want to get done before you get into the planning mode and the task mode and stuff like that. Um, or we do that all together in either an Eden Town Hall or in like a co-build session that we schedule separately, and we just have a like basically do a discussion or something, and then we use AI to transcribe that and turn it into a constitution and specifications. Then we go for a round of feedback on that, leave any comments on what's missing or too much from the constitution and specification. And then from there, after we agree that, okay, this is a good constitution specifications for how the Fractalgram Telegram app should work, then we would, I guess one or multiple of us would take it to the next step and do a plan with the AI, and then we take it from there. That's that's my proposal.
Yeah, that's a great plan. I was thinking along the same lines. Also, when you create a specific requirement specification, it's really tempting to go on the next step. But I think it's wise to try to align on the specification first. We will save time and credits that way before going on into the planning step and implementation. And yeah, I've been meaning to share my ideas for basically Fractalgram app the way I see it, because I thought about the ideal Fractalgram app for like years right now. So I want to share that either way. So I think I will do it in through Speckit, where I will basically do the first step, requirement specification and constitution, and maybe that could be the starting point for us to align on and then create something.
Yep. I agree. If you want to put that into a HackMD Markdown file, like you've been doing that has comments, then I'll leave comments on that whenever you get around to doing that. And then from there, we can have a town hall discussion about it too, where we kind of like drill into more details about it. And then we can use the transcript from the town hall or whatever call it we do to improve upon it. And then, yeah, I agree. There's a lot of value in forming consensus on those specifications as a community first before going into the planning and implementation, because like there might be this one little thing that you forget or something like that. And if we're all on the same page on it and we all look at it closely first, kind of like how we did with the mission and vision in a way, then I think we'll wind up with a better overall app and product, and also satisfy like the questions that, for example, Timothy had and Zal had about like having good documentation and stuff like that, because we'll create that as we go and everyone will be on
It
the same
sounds like
page.
a plan.
All right. Sounds great. We're a few minutes over. Should we wrap it up now, or do we have any final thoughts?
No, and I think well, okay, one final thought that will I don't think this leave me take too much time from me, so I can keep working on the Word documentation alongside that instead of trying to finish Fractal first next week. So yeah, just wanted to note that.
No, wait, I didn't hear totally. You said you're gonna work on the ORDAO documentation alongside the specking out and constitution for Fractalgram?
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
we'll
Sounds
try.
good.
At least I will try to do that.
Okay. Great. Well, I appreciate that a lot, and I also appreciate today's discussion too. I think that this was very productive, and so. Tomorrow, Tadas has a busy schedule actually, because tomorrow Tadas is also going to make the ORDAO proposal for the updating configuration, and you're also going to put up um, I suppose a message in the Synchronous Respect Trees channel in the Eden Fractal Telegram, inviting everyone to make either contribution requests or topic proposals, or both of those, which people can do between Thursday and Monday. I guess just one last quick thing I had was that, do you think Monday is the best time for that rather than Tuesday? Because I know that sometimes we said that the first round was too short, but I suppose you thought about this with regards to contribution requests. We will do Monday, not Tuesday. Maybe just think it over and see what everything is best. But that was one thing I wasn't totally sure about. If you want to comment on that, feel free. But otherwise, we're over time. I don't want to keep you up. Tadas is going to make a thing in Telegram, so everybody should make their contribution requests and topic proposals from there and do that before Monday, and then we'll have our next meeting on next Thursday.
Yeah,
Also, we'll vote on things that people propose, contribution requests and topic
we
proposals
will,
between Monday and Thursday.
we will do stuff. Yes.
We'll do stuff. First, we did nothing. Now we're going to do something. Y'all get ready for Eden Fractal 2026. Should we say go Eden Fractal? Anything else?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks all. Thanks Timothy, and thanks Toss for everything. And for anybody watching, thank you all for being here as well with us. And we look forward to see you in the next event on the 29th and going forward.
Can we
Three.
do fractals? Is that?
Uh, what's that all?
I was saying, are we doing a go fractals?
Uh,
I can't get out of here without that.
yeah. We're gonna say go Eden Fractal. We can go Fractals
Oh,
too. Do you have preference?
whatever's easy. I think go fractals is a little easier for us to all synchronize on.
Oh, okay. We can go Fractals. That's cool with me. Eden Fractal supporting Fractals. So let's go for it. Three, two, one, and go Fractals! All right. See you next week.
See you.